Hello, I'm on today to show you some of the results that I got from some of the tests that I had done when I was experiencing depersonalization, and I had quite a lot of tests done, but these are just some of them that I'll be able to show you. So I'll explain them as I go along, but I had a lot of blood tests, urine tests, hair tests, saliva tests. I just basically wanted to get to the bottom of what was wrong. So this is a 23andMe test, as you can see. I used the raw data on this to get the other test results, and the only things that come up on this one was two variations that they found. So I had one copy of the E4 variant that they tested. So I should show you, one copy of the E4 variant in the APOE gene. So basically what that means is I have more of a higher risk of late onset Alzheimer's disease. So as you can see, the statistics there of how many people have them. But it's obviously running in families. I don't know any of my family that's had Alzheimer's. And honestly, I don't really know if this is a massive deal. It doesn't seem to be, but I was reading a book about a ticking time bomb it's called Ticking Time Bomb Mercury Exposure, and the author there said something about the APOE variant having something to do with the brain's ability to not be able to excrete mercury and heavy metals. So perhaps the gene actually means that I'm unable to process heavy metals from the brain more than others. So that's why I get late onset Alzheimer's, because I'm more likely to be at risk of the symptoms, which obviously in elderly people is the Alzheimer's. I'm not saying all Alzheimer's come from heavy metal exposure, but it's something I read about which is quite interesting. And then there was another one for age-related macular degeneration, which again, it was just a variant, and there was no increased risk. So I think see the results there. So those were just the basic 23andMe tests. I'll now show you the raw data that I got from those. So I've downloaded the raw data from 23andMe, and I've put it into Genetic Genie. So I have homozygous variants in 3 of those genes and heterozygous in 2 of them. Honestly, I don't actually know what these genetics play a role in, but obviously in the detox profile, the other ones look pretty good. Obviously I don't have variations in those, so that wasn't really the main one I was looking at, but I wanted to show you that anyway, just in case that had any influence on that. But this one is the main one that I want to show you. So this is my methylation profile. So as you can see, I have a homozygous variation in 2 COMT SNPs and none in the other one. There is a lot of COMT variations, COMT genes as well. So obviously these are the 2 most important, and I have a double mutation, which is homozygous. So basically my COMT production is slower than usual because I have variants in them. No variants actually means it's working more efficiently. So I have 2 slow COMT variations in 1 fast COMT, but because the 2 slow ones are more dominant, then overall my COMT is slower. And I also have a MTHFR mutation of heterozygous, which is C677T, the most common. I also have other heterozygous statuses in the other genetics, but the main ones that I was looking at is the MTHFR and the COMT. So basically the COMT variation means that I have trouble processing estrogen, adrenaline, dopamine, and my body's ability to methylate those, well, I guess hormones and neurotransmitters is depleted. So that's why I obviously struggle with an overproduction of adrenaline hanging around in the body. But also the MTHFR variation makes it so that 50% of mercury that I come in contact with is stored in my body. So as a rough estimation, if you have one variant of the C677T MTHFR mutation, it means that half of the mercury that you're exposed to isn't able to basically get out from your body naturally anyway, so you need to chelate once you've got rid of that exposure. So that's basically why the fill-in for me changed my whole life, because the toxic gas off-gassing from the fill-in was stored, 50% of it was stored in my brain. Well, it still is, and I'm going to get rid of that. I also have a candida test, what I'll show you. There wasn't actually a lot going on there, but before I actually had candida. So I didn't actually have any candida in my stomach, but in my mouth I had candida, which actually at the time I probably shouldn't have been, but I was taking a anti-parasite supplement. So what I'm assuming has happened is any candida that was in my stomach has actually died and been excreted through like feces and my mouth, and as yeast as well. Either that or it just likes to live in my mouth rather than my stomach. But yeah, the candida is really common with mercury toxicity. And then I'll show you the hair test. So sorry, it's labelled a bit backwardly. So this is the hair test that confirms the mercury toxicity in me. So if you've never seen one of these before and you've never heard of Annie Cutler's protocol, then you'd be probably confused because the mercury bar is actually quite low. What you need to look at is the essential elements in a person and in the hair. So there is 4 counting rules for meeting a mercury positive test, because mercury is not excreted through the cells and it's actually stored rather than excreted. So you need to look at actually what it's doing in terms of your elements and what elements it's unbalancing. Andy Cutler done a lot of research into different elements that are essential, what can become unbalanced because of mercury toxicity, and he come up with the rules, which are pretty basically 99.9% accurate. So first rule is if you have 11 or fewer elements contained within the green and white sections. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I met one of the counting rules already. Then it was if 50%, if 5 or fewer elements were out of the below the 50% range, or above the 50% range. So actually pretty much most of mine were below the 50%. So that was another counting rule. And then there was also if 5 or more elements were in the red, so I've got 5 there. So my potassium was horrendously low, as well as my iodine and cobalt and rubidium. So I think it shows pretty severe adrenal problems. Obviously magnesium is low as well, but a lot of them actually have tried to restore with supplements and electrolytes for the magnesium, potassium, and at the time I've been taking a lot of zinc, so that's probably why that's higher than anything else. So yeah, there is a lot of things with hair tests, what you can tell for mercury. Usually as well, you see a lot of low lithium in mercury toxic people. Luckily mine was highish, because low lithium can actually cause mood problems as well. And also there is a small bar for the mercury, and any mercury in the body is not good for you. So I was actually glad to see at least something show up anyway in the hair, regardless of the counting rules, because it actually shows that there is mercury in the body. Like, you want that nothing, like the platinum is for me. There is a little bit of arsenic and titanium, but any other metals that show up high usually generally get reduced when you chelate anyway from mercury. So that's that one. I also have some Medichecks tests that I did before I found out about the mercury, but there was a few that I done after because I needed to check a few things. So this one I did in March, and these are the results. A lot of them were pretty fine. Luckily my liver health's okay. Maybe it's on a bit of a low end, but generally they're within range. I'm just showing you the results for those. Slightly low cholesterol, uric acid was on the high end. But again, none of these for me screamed as to why I felt the way I did. Magnesium was okay. Vitamins, the only problem here was vitamin D was really, well, not really low, it was just below range. But it was taken in spring. Cortisol was literally on the edge of being high, and I've always had high cortisol, so I wasn't surprised at that. So I started supplementing vitamin D, but I mean, most people are deficient in vitamin D during the winter anyway. So that result was right, well, I didn't really get anything from that. Then I'd done another one, so the prolactin, estrogen, progesterone, because, and I don't know why it's actually not on my profile, but my prolactin was 919 when I first tested it in March. So I was then trying to reduce it. Actually, it might show up on here. I was trying to reduce it quite a lot from then because it was far too high, and I didn't know why. And now I know that it's because so obviously the toxic burden level with the mercury is likely to have went in the pituitary gland and caused an overproduction of prolactin as well. I didn't have any symptoms when I first discovered I had high prolactin, in terms of lactation and stuff, but I was quite shocked to see how high that was, but luckily it went down again. This one here, so before I started chelation, I needed to know whether or not I had high cortisol, because I needed to know if I needed to take supplements to increase it or decrease it, and I knew there was something going on because I felt horrible. And now I know it's issues with adrenal hormones. So I done a saliva test, and these were the results. Basically, they were far too high all across the board. And this was September, so that's actually 2 months ago now. So I started taking Holy Basil and Rhodiola rosa and Ace adrenal cortex, and I feel as if I took a test now, it would probably be a lot lower. I will probably do another test given time, but again, my adrenal hormones are unbalanced as well because of what's going on in the body. So no wonder I was riddled with anxiety and stuff, because I was just producing far too much cortisol. And then finally I done a folate red blood cell test to check that the level of folate was okay, and it was pretty much in the middle. But again, I wanted to supplement a bit of folate anyway, just to support the methylation cycle. So those are the tests I've had done that I'm able to show you, and there is an abundance of tests that you can have to check different things and treat symptoms. For me, I believe that most of the results that have come back are the root cause of poor detoxification, really, in regards with heavy metals. So I think that once I've done the chelation, if I'd done these tests again, they'd probably come back pretty stable. There's other tests you can do, whether or not you've got high level of mold or Lyme disease. I was thinking about getting tested for that, but I've read a lot about Lyme disease getting better once you've been able to detox anyway. So I thought, if I have Lyme disease, then once I've sorted like my detox out and methylation cycle, then I should be okay. And once the mercury body level comes down as well, like I'll be able to better handle any invasions that are going on. And obviously you want to make sure your liver and your kidneys are working okay, which mine are, before you start chelation. So that might be another test that you could look into. So yeah, that's basically it. I'll probably have more tests done in the future, because I do want to check my homocysteine levels, my histamine levels, and a few other things. But like I say, these are things just for my information, so I can piece bits of the jigsaw together. But I finally got enough information now to know what I need to do. So if you want to, have different tests, then I would recommend checking your cortisol and checking your obviously your hair elements as well, and even like amino acids as well, because I haven't done that yet, and I probably want to do something like that, but it's just quite expensive, isn't it? So I feel like as long as I'm feeling okay, like there's no need to check things, but it is like I don't want to leave any stone unturned. So I hope this was a little bit informative, and if you want to know more about the hair test as well, or the counting rules, then look on Andy Cutler's Chelation Facebook page, or basically just Google it. And I've actually got a mercury detoxification manual, which I got from Mandy Mart in the UK. It was about £30, but that's basically like tells me everything I need to know in order to get better. As long as like I follow those rules in the protocol, then I'm going to improve my health anyway. So I feel like that was one of the best investments I've made. So I hope this helps, and if you've got any questions, just leave them below, and I'll see you in the next video.